Shalawama, Shalawama. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is Astrotheology. This is our 47th video presentation. Give me 1 second, let me correct that. Welcome. This is our 47th, can you believe it? 47th episode of Astrotheology. Welcome, 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 especially to my day ones. Welcome. It is good to have everyone back. If you are new here, this is Astrotheology. This is a live stream presentation. You can put your questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want, you can put it in the comments and I will read them. Other people may choose to answer them, okay? But you will get an education here in this live stream on Astrotheology. I can guarantee you that. All right, so give me 1 second, y'all. Let me get things together with the live stream here. All right, let's give people a moment to get in. Again, I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. All right. I am a professor of the Ancient Ibaryath language, all right, of the Ancient Ibaryath language. All right, we're going to give it a minute to give people a chance to come in. As a reminder, well, first, let me say thank you again to all of our day ones. First and foremost, thank you for being regular, supporting this live stream presentation of Astrotheology. This is probably one of the absolute most important topics that there is for all of the Moors to study, understand, overstand, okay, and really master. Why do I say that? Well, not only because of the contract that we read at Exodus chapter 20, Deuteronomy chapter 28, and other chapters. In religion, they call it the Mosaic Covenant, but we're dealing with natural law, right? Natural law. In addition to that, the implications and the complications of being motivated positively or negatively by religion is extremely toxic. If you are a religious person, if you are motivated by religion, unfortunately, I'm going to have to tell you that you are under a spell. Okay, you are under a spell. I'm not trying to offend you, but I'm just telling you what it is. You are under a spell. What spell? The God spell, the God-S spell, the God spell. That spell was created by the dark priesthood, the dark priesthood. That spell was conceived and created by the dark priesthood. So if you are new to Zion Law School, if you're new to me, you may not know who the dark priesthood is, but I think most of the Moors have heard of the dark priesthood or the black priesthood. So let's get into that right now. Remember, the topic is why astrotheology is so very important, okay? Why you as a Moor, why you as a Moor, especially Yasharala Moors, why you must gain mastery over astrotheology. No questions about it, no ifs, ands, or buts, you must. So let's get into it. Let's get into why, okay? Let's get into why. So Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8, is a warning, where Jeremiah has told us from a long, long time ago that the Bible has been changed. Everything in it is not true. Okay, that might hurt a lot of people's feelings, but let's bring it out. Okay, let's bring it out so we can begin to deal with reality, get out of beliefs, right? And come into our own mind, take control of our own life, take back our imagination, so on and so forth. But let's get into it. This is Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. We're at the Bible Hub where you can compare how various translation teams of different religious organizations who have translated the Bible, how they render a specific verse. What verse? In this case, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. We're going to read out of the Amplified Bible. All right. The reason why is because it's more easily to read and comprehend in this version. Okay, so it's at the highlights. So let's move that up and let's begin. Let's begin breaking the black priesthoods or the dark priesthood spell. Let's begin breaking the spell, not the spell off of somebody else, but the spell off of you. Let's break the spell off of you first. And then when you are no longer under the spell, the God spell, the Gospels, then you go help somebody else. All right, but we will begin with you first. In other words, this only concerns you until you get yourself together. Don't go beating people up with the Bible and with all of this kind of stuff, okay? The focus is on you. All right, so here we go. This is the Amplified Bible, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. Everybody should be focused on themselves. I'm focused on myself, and you should be focused on yourself, right? First, before you try to help somebody else. You get mastery first, okay? I'm doing the same thing. All right, so Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8 reads, how can you say we are wise and the law of the Most High is with us? That's a question. How can you say that, right? Continues, and we are learned in its language and teachings. What's the language? It is Ancient Ibaryath. It is in the family of the Canaanite Phoenician Moors, all right? And teachings, what are these teachings? As I mentioned, the teachings are at their essence natural law, the laws that govern nature, the laws that govern the physical universe, and the laws that govern consciousness, human relations, so on and so forth. Natural law, we see it expressed as, I'm sure everyone should know this by now, everyone should recall this, nature's, capital G-O-D, right? Everybody remember that? Okay. All right, we see that in law, don't we? So this is what we're talking about, y'all. How can you say we are wise and the law of the Most High is with us and we are learned in its language, which is Ibaryath, and its teachings, which are the Most High's instructions in religion? They call it commandments. Our ancestors called it natural law. Our ancestors called it natural law, right? We called it natural law, and we investigated natural law. We researched, investigated, we observed, okay? And we planned our lives around natural phenomena, and we expressed ourselves and communicated in the same way. All right. So how can you say we are wise and the law of the Most High is with us and we are learned in Ibaryath and the Most High's instructions and natural law, nature's God, right? Behold, the truth is that the lying pen of the scribes, that's your ancestors, my ancestors, have made the law, have made the Most High's instructions, have made natural phenomena, natural law into a lie, a mere code of ceremonial observances, and ceremonial observances by definition is religion. Jeremiah lived. Jeremiah was a young man when Babylonian captivity began. He was a young man when he gave this warning that our ancestors, these rebel, renegade, self-centered, self-righteous Moors, decided that they would make the people worship natural phenomena, a process now known today as anthropomorphism. I think I messed that pronunciation up, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's the deification or the personification of natural phenomena. That's what it is. And they put themselves in the middle of you and the natural phenomena. They made themselves a mediator. Whereas before they were intellectuals, priests, or today we would say what? Today we would call them professors. These were highly intellectual men, well-disciplined men in every respect, but they went bad. They became renegades and rebels, and they wanted to earn a living and gain prestige, prosperity by enslaving the other Moors, enslaving them physically and mentally. Does everyone understand? During Babylonian captivity, Judaism, the religion, Judaism was produced. Judaism is a religion. It is not a bloodline. It is a religion. Anybody can join it. Anybody. It is not a bloodline. It is not a nation. It is not a nationality. Christianity followed. The Islamic religion followed. And then all of the different sects and varieties of religions that we see today follow. Is it clear? Is it clear? So these renegade, rebel, greedy, deceitful, lying scribes, our ancestors, make up what we call today the dark or the black priesthood. These Moors, I'm talking about at this time and moving forward, these Moors created religion, wrote lies, and what we call today the Bible for the sole purpose of enslaving you by capturing your imagination through connotative linguistics embedded in religion. Embedded in religion. So let's see, y'all. I would like for you all to be active in the chat with comments. Help me make this more than an outstanding presentation by putting comments and questions, answering questions, putting ideas in the comments. All right, do that for me. That activates the YouTube algorithm. Also, like and share the video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. All right, so that said, Moors, Yasharala Moors, regardless of what family of nations you come from, all Moors, all natural indigenous people who are here now, let's get into our discussion on the topic of astrotheology. All right. Now, yesterday, in yesterday's live presentation, the author said something that I was really impressed with, y'all. I was very impressed with it. And what he talked about, if y'all remember, what he talked about was breaking the spell. Breaking the spell. He said his goal or something like that was to break the spell. Break the spell that the dark priesthood put the people in. And, you know, I like that. I really like that. You know, I really, really like that. And I want to forward that. I want to forward that. But it's not my business what anybody believes. You believe what you want to believe. In fact, you have to use your own mind to determine whether or not the author is making his case. Because the author makes what we would say today are some very wild claims, right? Very wild claims. But his claims, he's basing all of his claims on science, particularly philology, linguistics, etymology, textual criticism, history, and astronomy and astrology. All right, so that's what he's doing. So now let's get into our publication. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me pull this up. Let's get into it. Let's put the work in. All right, so I've said enough. I've said, oh, by the way, there's just one more thing I need to say. My goal as I present this is to teach, okay? My goal is to teach you and to present the information in such a way where I'm not adding my own ideas. I'm going to read, I'm going to explain, interpret what this sentence, paragraph means, so on and so forth. I'm going to give you my life's experience. I'm going to show you what, or visualize what needs to be visualized through images. I'm going to do that. But you're going to have to do your own thinking. Now, I'm going to talk, give you my point of view and things like that. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide what you're going to believe. So let's get started. And this is it's going to be a difficult topic. So if you are sensitive, if you are a religious person, you should leave now. All right, because I don't want to destroy you or have you all messed up. And I definitely don't want you talking negatively about what we do here in these live presentations. So if you are sensitive, please leave now, because what you are about to be exposed to most likely goes against everything that you have been taught in your religion. So please leave now if you are a religious person and you are sensitive, okay? All right, so give me 1 second, y'all. Let me get myself together. And I'm not being rude, I'm just telling you the truth. All right. This is not for the easily disturbed, the sensitive people. So we'll begin on page 241. We are on page 241 of the book, The Devil's Pulpit. This is not, all right. We're on page 241 of The Devil's Pulpit. This again is our 47th presentation. So let's get going. Here we are. I'm going to highlight where we're going to start. And Moors, please do right by me, yourself, and your nation. by sharing this video. Let the other Moors know. When I say Moors, y'all know I'm talking about the House of Yasharallah and Moors, regardless of whatever nation you're from. All right, just the Moors. Okay, let them know that this presentation has begun. Okay, let them know, share, put this on your Facebook, whatever social media you have, let them know that the astrotheology presentation has begun. Okay, please do that for me. So help me with this work. All right, it's a heavy load, and I need you to help me get the word out. All right, so we are here. I'm going to go do a summary on these important paragraphs. Y'all will remember from Astrotheology number 46, how critically important these two paragraphs are. It reads, in Dr. Lardner's table of the books of the New Testament, this book of the Epistle to the Hebrews is classed under the head of disputed books, of which definition Dr. Lardner defines that it is one of those books which should be allowed to be read in Christian assemblies. Well, why? If it's disputed, why should it be read? He continues, it should be read for the edification of the people, but not to be alleged as affording alone sufficient proof of any doctrine. Scholars, do you understand, scholars in the audience? Do you understand what Dr. Lardner just said? He just said that the book of Hebrews, or the letter to the Hebrews, is not authentic. It is not authentic. And alone, the book alone has no credibility. I will read it again. In Dr. Lardner's table of the books of the New Testament, y'all see that? All the books of the New Testament, not just one. In Dr. Lardner's table of the books of the New Testament, this book of the Epistle to the Hebrews is classified under the heading of disputed books. It is disputed. Okay, it is disputed. Of which definition he defines that it is one of those books which should be allowed to be read in the Christian assemblies or Christian congregations, right? For the edification of the people. Y'all got that? It should be allowed to be read in a congregation for the edification or the building up of the people, but not to be alleged as affording alone sufficient proof of any doctrine. Sufficient proof of any doctrine. Hebrews is a very important book in Christianity, especially amongst the Hebrew Israelites. Let's continue. By the way, let me stress this again. Dr. Lardner is saying that the book of Hebrews is not authentic. You cannot use it alone. It carries no weight when used alone, and its only purpose is to build up the people. It has no spiritual value. It is a disputed book. Let's continue. That is, the author writes here, let me highlight where we are. That is, as I understand the definition, it will do to be read in Christian assemblies. In other words, the book of Hebrews, well, yeah, it's okay to read it in the congregations. This is the author speaking. It's okay to read the book of Hebrews or the letter to the Hebrews in the Christian congregations, where anything will do for the edification of the people. In other words, the letter to the Hebrews is put on the level of anything else that you would use or that you would read to build up the people. In other words, it's nothing special, nothing quote unquote holy about the book of the Hebrews, according to the author. You make the decision whether or not the author is correct or incorrect. But I only ask you, me, Dr. Yasapa, I only ask you to answer that question with your analytical mind using critical thinking skills. In other words, by asking questions, okay? Don't answer it according to your doctrine or your belief system, but answer it based upon critical thinking and science. So let's continue. That is, as I understand the definition, it will do, that is, the book of Hebrews will do to be read in Christian congregations or assemblies where anything will do. In other words, where you can read anything, right? For the edification of the people. That is, as I understand it, the building them up or the building up of the people. That's what he's talking about, the meaning of edification. Yeah, you can read the book of the letter to the Hebrews, or you can read anything that's going to build up the congregation, build up the people. For example, you can build them up like blockheads, like stocks. Stocks, 14th Amendment citizens, slaves, denationalized Moors, build them up to believe that they are Negro, Black, colored, Christian, Catholic, Baptist, anything but having a nationality and birthrights. Build them up as stocks, as chattel, 14th Amendment citizens who have no natural rights, who have no birthright, who cannot invoke the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, who do not appreciate nationality that was brought forth by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Okay, I'm speaking for all indigenous, all natural people, all Moors, Genesis chapter 2. Okay, Genesis chapter 2. Zion Law School scholars know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, come to our Saturday 10 a.m. class, Eastern Standard Time. Also, you can look on our YouTube channel. We have videos. I think the title of the videos is that the Moors, Yasharala are the law of the land or something like that. But go learn this, watch those videos, learn, and you'll get it, okay? Let's continue. And I apologize, y'all. I'm very tired. I'm in the process of moving, and it's been exhausting, and I haven't eaten today, and I'm really, really tired. So if I sound low energy, please be understanding. I'm doing the best I can. In the moment, I'm doing the best I can, all right? So build them up like blockheads, like idiots. Build them up to be dumb. Build them up to believe anything. Build them up to not love themselves. Build them up to love their oppressor. Build them up to fight each other. Build them up like blockheads, like stock, like chattel slavery. Okay? 14th Amendment citizens. Build them up to be stones, stony hearts. They won't change. They won't consider anything good. They will ignore natural law. They'll stick to dogma and doctrine, even though it has gotten them absolutely nowhere. in their life or in generations, but they imagine that the good things that have happened to them was because of some deity outside of themselves. Build them up into pedestals so you can walk on them. Build them up, build up the congregation into pedestals so that the pastor, Rabbi Moshe Moreh, can walk on your back like he's walking up the social ladder, the steps. Okay, he's broke today, but the more of y'all he get in his congregation, the higher he can climb up those steps, right? They build you up into pedestals. Why? For the priest to play God on, capital G-O-D. Y'all see that? Build you up so that the priest can eat you and have you as a steak on his table. Let's go to the next paragraph. The time at which Dr. Lardner, the highest authority, y'all hear that? So here's his credibility. This doctor who wrote this book, the table of the books of the New Testament, he was in 1857 when this book was compiled. Well, let me rephrase that. In 1831, when this sermon was given, this Dr. Lardner was the highest authority. He was the highest authority in the judgment of Christians. In other words, if this doctor said something about the letter of the Hebrews or any other of the New Testament documents, it was most likely right, because he was considered to be the most credible and the most learned on the topic, okay? The time at which Dr. Lardner, the highest authority in the judgment of Christians that could possibly be quoted, supposes or guesses. Y'all got that? He supposes or guesses. In other words, he does not know. Okay? It's not even a belief. He supposes or he guesses, for it is all guesswork. Okay, well, let's see if the author makes his case. For it is all guesswork that this epistle of the Hebrews might have been written is the spring of the year of our era, ERA 63. Spring, right? Spring of 63 AD. That would place this in the vernal equinox, right? Vernal equinox, sometime around there. Springtime. This is the author speaking, as I, with as good a right and better reason for guessing than Dr. Lardner. In other words, the author is saying, well, okay, well, he has his own guess, right? And he has just as much right to make a guess as Dr. Lardner. That's what he's saying. So the author guesses that it might have been written in the autumn of 63 AD. Okay, so the author says the autumn of 63 AD. Dr. Lardner says it was the spring of 63 AD. All right, so this is important. It's important. Let's continue. That it might have been written in the autumn of the year 63 AD, or 63,000 years before our era. Y'all got that? Now, he's going to tell his reason in the next paragraph. Remember, we're doing our summary from yesterday. All right. My reason for guessing 63 AD in the autumn. My reason for guessing that it was written in the autumn being the strong symptoms that the epistle to the Hebrews itself contains of having been written when wine was cheap. Well, there we go. Of having been written when wine was cheap, and when he was so anxious to edify others, that is the writer of the epistle to the Hebrews, was pretty well edified. That's a play on words, right? Edified himself. Okay, meaning what? Well, we're talking about wine. So the author is being sarcastic, saying that whoever it was that wrote the epistle to the Hebrews, it was done in the autumn when wine was cheap. There's indications for it. That's what he's saying. And the person who wrote it was probably drinking some wine and feeling pretty good himself. That's what he means. Let's continue. And I guess it too had been written so many ages ago in honor to humanity. It was written in honor to humanity, which should but ill broke the affront of supposing that such stuff as what? As a letter of the epistle consists of, could have possibly come into respectability after mankind had acquired the faculty of reason. Okay, so, all right, I think that was some sarcasm on the author's behalf. Let's go to the next paragraph and then we will make sense of this. At the same time, I have no quarrel against the guess of any other person who might guess with equal force of presumptive evidence. In other words, you, me, everybody else has a right to guess because it's only guesswork. That's what the author is saying. So our guess is as good as Dr. Lardner's. That means something, doesn't it? Okay, let's continue. And at the same time, I have no quarrel against the guess of any other person who might guess with equal force of presumptive evidence that it was written yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock, as he might urge that it begins with the express date in these last days. Y'all understand that? The author is saying that the letter begins, quote, in these last days, end quote. So for you, what were the last days? The last days was yesterday, the day before, and maybe the day before that, but you get the point, right? In these last days. But because your religious leaders have captured your imagination, you, like me, and most other people associate the last days that are written here with what? With what? End time prophecy. End prophecy. But it says, quote, in these last days. Literally, that means yesterday, the day before, so on and so forth, right? That's the literal meaning, okay? So these are two different meanings that the author is bringing your attention to, okay? All right, so quote, in these last days, end quote, and it is certain that none other than yesterday and the day before were these last days. And it ends in the last chapter, okay? So in other words, the author is taking us from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, the last chapter, and the letter ends, the letter to the Hebrews ends in the last chapter with an equally explicit indication of date. Okay, so the opening quote, in these last days, is an indication of date, meaning yesterday, the day before that, everybody understand. The author is now telling us that it ends in the last chapter with an equally explicit indication of date, that we should consider the end of the conversation. Y'all understand that? The author is saying that once he tells you this bit of information, that should be the end of the conversation on the topic. All right, that should be enough to persuade you to the author's way of thinking. In other words, the author is saying he's going to earn your agreement through science. This is what he's been saying throughout this book, okay? That we should consider the end of the conversation, JC, the Christ figure, the same yesterday. Y'all see that? Let me read it again. And it ends in the last chapter with an equally explicit indication of date. That we should consider the end of the conversation, JC, the Christ figure, the same as yesterday. All right, so literally, yesterday is literally, 24 hours ago, or however many hours ago since yesterday, the literal meaning, right? So the author is saying these are two why does he say indication? Because they are not specific, right? The writer didn't give any specific statement. So it's just an indication. Now, if something is unspecific, if it is just an indication, what does that do? What effect does it have? Well, it allows the writer access to your imagination. Because now you have to go and start imagining, wondering, making conclusions that are not written on the page. Yesterday, we mentioned that we have to protect our imagination, because when someone can capture your imagination, they have captured you. They have psychologically captured you. So, for example, psychic attacks, psychological warfare, right? Psychological warfare, psychic attacks, causing you to imagine. What's a way that this works that everybody is familiar with? Worry, worry, worry. What is worry? Worry is imagining the worst outcome. It never happened. You're just imagining it, right? You're worrying, which is the opposite of what? Being confident and looking forward, positive expectancy. Everybody see that? All right, so we must protect our imagination. All right, so again, the end of the conversation, JC, the Christ figure, the same yesterday, right? The same yesterday. All right, but because your imagination has been captured, you and me alike, we have always associated that with end time prophecy. All right, even though it is not written on the page. Let's continue. Well, hold on. Let me check the comments for a second, y'all. Give me a moment, please. Give me a moment. Wow, how did that happen? Y'all like and share the video, please. Like and share the video. Help me out. Put something in the comment section. I see the comment section is empty. Wow. Why is the comment section empty? So let me ask y'all, y'all don't like the topic? Why is the comment section empty? What's going on? What's happening here? All right, so let's continue with the presentation. We're on page 242. The end of all the guessing and of all the critical research and learning in the world throws us up to the melancholy fact that mankind have been frightened out of their wits, and our madhouses have been filled. In other words, the psych ward has been filled, and our churches and chapels, which are but halfway houses to the madhouses. Crowded by persons who have believed that they themselves or others had trodden underfoot the Son, S-O-N of capital G-O-D, and all the rest of this hideous orgy upon the authority of some scratchings and scribblings on an old goat skin scratched by the nails of some drunken bacchanal, for reference to the deity of wine, of whom nobody can guess who he was, between Jack Sprat or Jack anybody. And nobody can guess when, with any 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. You think about that. That don't make sense, does it? Now, I remember, I'm gonna go back to my life experience now, y'all. When I was in Christianity, okay, I had some problems with my ex-wife, okay? Some things happened. And this was actually one of the things that I was worried about, okay? Because that's what they pushed. And unfortunately, you know, I was like a lot of people into the religion. I was into the religion and I was a believer, right? And I was afraid that I had blasphemed the Holy Spirit. And it troubled me and troubled me and troubled me for years. Mental anguish. Because, you don't know if you're all right with the Creator. You don't know if he's going to do something to you or allow something to be done to you, or if he's going to block you here or block you there, right? Okay. And then you don't know about your future afterlife. You don't know if you're going to suffer, right? Depending on what religion you're in, or if you're not going to be resurrected. Some people believe they're going to burn in hell for eternity. Other people believe they just won't be resurrected. They won't go into the deity's kingdom, okay? But in any event, it is a lot of mental anguish. I mentioned yesterday too, that in the religion I was involved in, if they kick you out or there's possibility that you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, well, guess what? You get kicked out, your family won't talk to you. I'm talking about your mother, your father, your son, your daughter. They won't talk to you. They cut you off. Will even put you out of the house if I've seen it. Okay. Women will separate, or family will, husband and wife will separate from each other. Okay. Your friends will cut you off. You will lose your entire social network. And if you're working for a brother or a sister who's in your religion, you just might get fired. Very high probability that they're going to fire you. Now you lost your income. You invested everything in the religion, everything in your family, doing everything you could to be right. Who knows how much money you gave up until that point, how much you sacrificed teaching other people up until that point. And then they totally cut your legs out from under you. Imagine the mental anguish. I've seen teenagers that this happened to, and it was so sad how they suffered. I've seen people go into early onset schizophrenia, drug and alcohol abuse because of this. So I know from experience that the author on this topic is absolutely correct. The church is halfway to the crazy house, halfway to the insane asylum. All right, let's continue with the paragraph. Let's continue with the paragraph. Y'all put some of your experiences on the topic or even your opinion on the topic in the comments, okay? With this, there's, so far we're not dealing with astrotheology right now. This topic, this chapter is on Freemasonry, right? This is on Freemasonry. But put your experiences in the comment section anyway. It will activate or help activate the YouTube algorithm so we can get bigger and bigger audiences of Moors here, okay, to get this information, all right? Because you won't get this information in other places, all right? Let's continue. Let's continue with our reading. All right, the rule with Christians being invariably this, that the less they know about a thing, the wiser they take themselves to be. And the more profoundly ignorant, the more fervently religious. Now, I see this all the time, y'all. Religious people, Christian people particularly, they don't want to have a discussion about a topic from the point of view of the language, from the point of view of linguistics and etymology and science. Why? Because they'll say, quote unquote, it goes against what I believe. I know this to be true because I was indoctrinated into this too. Don't read things that might cause you to think about things that you have not, or that are in conflict or might be in conflict with the doctrine that you've learned. Avoid them. It's like what does they call it? Apostate religion or apostate material, right? Things that will destroy your faith. Stay away from them, okay? And when you're involved in religion, it seems like, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? That makes a lot of sense, right? But when you step outside of that and you begin to see that the religion has been a tool to mentally control you, to enslave you, then you begin to see something totally different, right? You begin to see it as being a control mechanism. The rule with Christians being invariably this, that the less they know about a thing, in other words, I'm not going to study that. I don't want to know about that history. I don't want to know about the etymology of that word or that verse. I don't want to know about linguistics because it's going to tear down or maybe go against what I've been taught. The wiser, in other words, the more they ignore knowledge, philology, the wiser they think themselves to be. But what else? The author left out. Not only the wiser do they think themselves to be, but what? They see themselves as having greater faith by expressing and doing things to make themselves or to prove themselves ignorant. And they don't see it. They look at it, rejecting that type of information as an expression of great faith. And the more profoundly ignorant, the more fervently religious, right? Why? Because when you're ignorant, your imagination is at work, okay? When you're educated in natural law, you're not thinking abstract. You're in reality. By definition, you are functioning in reality. And when you are speaking concretely, you are speaking reality by definition. All right. Y'all can learn more about this abstract and concrete concepts, how profound they are, and how our ancestors had a concrete paradigm. You can learn more about this by subscribing to the streaming 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. The link is in the description of this video. It's critically important information. And the class, or the streaming the streaming 101 Ancient Ibaryath course is almost free. It's almost free, right? You get it for $1 one-day trial, and then $10 per month to subscribe. So that's almost free. Okay, that is literally almost free. Okay, that course has a $10,000 value, but we're giving it away almost free. Let's continue. Let's continue. Okay, so one thing that I'm so happy about, I'm so happy that I got out of religion, y'all. I'm so happy that I got out of religion. I can look back at my life and me, and I was a complete idiot because my religion destroyed my marriage. But it destroyed a lot about my personality too, right? But it destroyed my marriage, and it destroyed my ability to communicate well with my wife at the time. Okay, but I didn't see it at the time. I thought I was right. Okay, but I don't see it that way now. I see it for what it is. Let's go to the next paragraph. Here we are, y'all. Follow the highlight. That's where we are. Okay, it reads, it is called, at any rate, the epistle to the Hebrews. The Hebrews, it's getting good, y'all know, it's getting good. It is called, at any rate, the epistle to the Hebrews. The Hebrews, note that exclamation point. Why? Why? Let's continue reading. Then who are, or were, or what is, or was meant by the Hebrews? Now, there we go. That's what I want to talk about. Let's get into this. Who are these Hebrews? What's meant by a Hebrew? Who were they? Who are they? Are they really Hebrew Israelites? Y'all get where I'm going? Who are these Hebrew Israelites today? Who were in antiquity, who were our ancestors? What is there a history of Hebrews? Who are, who were, who, what is, or what was meant by the Hebrews? That's the question. I've proved that these Hebrews, so-called Hebrews, are in fact Moors. Proved it by the law in Genesis chapter 2. Let's continue. Let's continue. Let's hear what the author has to say, and you determine if he makes his case based upon the evidence, not your doctrine, not your religion, but evidence. The author told us to consider all of this stuff like what? Evidence that is to be presented in a case like a murder case. He also told us we should learn what evidence is and those rules pertaining to evidence. Let's continue. Now, sirs, do I put in your own authority of judgment, of judging to judge? Who is the scholar and worthy to be revered as a teacher, having something that he can teach and you can learn? I, who can teach and tell you who the Hebrews are. Uh-oh, y'all. Uh-oh, the author is saying that he can do it. He can tell us who the Hebrews are. Let's hold him to it. And what the meaning of the epistle to the Hebrews is. Okay, so now the author is telling us that he can tell us who these Hebrews are, who they were. That is who they are today and who they were in history. Okay, if in fact they existed, this is what the author is saying. I, who can teach and tell you who the Hebrews are today, and what the meaning of this letter to the Hebrews is. Or your spiritual pastors and masters who cannot, and who, as they are profoundly ignorant themselves, have no protection for their monopoly. Y'all understand what he's saying? He's saying that many pastors, Moshes, although they are Freemasons, they don't know who the Hebrews are. Why? Why? We remember from reading in past chapters, past sermons, that the author told us that this information is reserved only to those Freemasons who reach the highest level of knowledge. In, what was it called? The Golden Ark? No, in the Royal Ark of Freemasonry. Okay, so most of the pastors, rabbis, imams, moshes, mores, all of that, they are not royal Hebrew, what was it called? Royal something. Oh, Royal Ark Masons. So most are not Royal Ark Masons, and of those who are Royal Ark Masons, they have not made it to the highest degree of learning and knowledge. So the author can say with confidence that he knows, obviously he must have made it, right? Obviously the author, at this point, we can say that the author was most likely a Royal Ark Mason. And he made it to the highest level of knowledge, and that's how he learned this information. Now, the author has not said it specifically, but we're reasoning using logic, right? Because how else would he know? All right, let's continue. I, who can teach and tell you the Hebrews are, and what the meaning of this letter to the Hebrews is. Or your spiritual pastors, Moshes, Mores, and masters who cannot, and who, as they are profoundly ignorant themselves, have no protection for their monopoly. In other words, if somebody exposes them because they're ignorant, they have no defense. Competitors can come in and take their business. As they are profoundly ignorant themselves, have no protection for their monopoly, but the trick of suppressing curiosity, and warning you not to go to the rotunda. What rotunda? The rotunda is the location, the site where the author gave these astrotheology sermons. And all those religious leaders that we mentioned before told their congregations, do not go to the rotunda. They said that the author, Robert Taylor, is the devil's chaplain. He's a child of the devil. He's the son of the devil. Don't go there because you will blaspheme the Holy Spirit and you will burn in hell forever, or you won't be resurrected. You won't get the kingdom of the deity. All of these horrible things that will happen to you if you go to the rotunda and listen to the Reverend Robert Taylor reveal, expose Christianity as being nothing more than astronomy, a fairy tale that really tells the story of what's happening in the heavens. Everybody see that? All right, so let's continue. As they are profoundly ignorant themselves, have no protection for their monopoly, but the trick of suppressing curiosity and warning you not to go to the rotunda for fear you should find out by your own improvement what the state or what a state of boobyism and ignorance they have kept you in. Everybody understand that? So the only defense that these pastors, Moshes and Mores have is to tell you, don't go talk to Dr. Yesapa in today's world. Don't go to Zion Law School. Don't listen to him. Don't learn etymology. Don't learn Ibaryath so that you can translate, so that you can read and translate the scriptures on your own. Don't go see that man. He's no good. Y'all see that? That's why they don't want to talk about me. That's why they hate me, because I'm exposing them. Years ago, it was the Reverend Robert Taylor. I'm not a Freemason, never have been one, but I'm exposing them. And they do not like it. They hate me for it. And many of y'all in the audience, scholars in the audience, many of you have seen Dr. James Small, a couple weeks ago, whenever it was. He was on Black Magic 363. And he also told the people that 99+% of the people who are preaching and teaching, the pastors, the religious people, they are in fact Freemasons. Okay, they are in fact Freemasons. Now, why aren't they telling you that? Why are they hiding it? Right? Why do they hide that? Right? More interesting question is, why did he tell it? Okay. But this is what we are dealing with, scholars. This is what we are dealing with, and we, as a people, must become educated on natural law. We must return to living, doing, and being like our ancient foremothers and forefathers. That is Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. One of the commandments, right? One of the Most High's instructions. You must return to natural law, okay? Stop believing in devils and demons. Get to know your higher self and know that there is a lower self. And everything that happened to you is because of you, right? Because of you. All right, let's continue. And there's more to that story, but I'll leave it at that, okay? But the meaning that I'm trying to deliver when I say because of you, it means that you are your own power. You are your own creative energy. You were given at birth the ability to create your own reality, physical, and in other words, external to you and internal, happiness, peace of mind, so on and so forth. Lifestyle, external, right? All right, so let's continue. Let's continue. But y'all don't be scared. Don't be scared. When these pastors, when these Hebrew Israelites and others tell you, stay away from Zion Law School, stay away from Dr. Yasapa, he don't believe in the Christ figure and the new, all of the stuff that they have said, ignore them. All right, so let's continue because we are no longer ignorant. Let's continue, next paragraph. Here we are, okay. Here we are, the Hebrews, the Jewish nation. So what do we see wrong with here already? Well, one, Hebrews, right? Because there's no such thing as Hebrews, we know that. The Jewish nation, well, we know there's no such thing as Jewish, and we know that this is what? A fiction. Jewish, there's no such thing as a Jewish nation. Judaism is a religion, right? So we see that, okay? Judaism is a religion, okay? There's no such thing as Jews. There's no such thing as Jews in the Old Testament. Jews was inserted, I think maybe 2 or 3 places. I don't remember right now, but it's an insertion, okay? Let's continue. We never called ourselves Jews. This is something that came during and shortly after Babylonian captivity with religion. Go back and watch the video that I did with Sonetta. The video title was something like all Abrahamic religions are a scam or something like that. Go back and watch that. Open your eyes. It will open your eyes. You must watch it. The Hebrews, the Jewish nation, you have been taught to believe the descendants of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, a national and political people, such as the French, Dutch, Poles, Russians among ourselves, a people that had won a political constitution, kings, LORDs, commons, and borrowmongers of their own, the immediate ancestors of the long-armed and blue-faced gentlemen of, so we are here, next page, y'all, of the menagerie, whose existence to this day is standing proof of the truth of divine revelation. Suppose you, right? So you're supposing, right? Okay, let's see what he's saying, y'all. Let's go to the next paragraph. This is interesting, right? This is interesting. I will do, ye see, for a lecture on the evidences of the Christian religion, where the lecturer dare not suffer himself to be questioned, even in the most respectful and courteous manner in which an inquirer or questioner after truth could question the professed teacher of it. All right, so let's see where he's going with this, right? Let's continue. But it would not do to abide the question where, in what monument of past existence. Y'all understand? The author is saying first, we need to ask the question where. but would it not do to abide the question where? So we need to ask where, and what monument of past existence? In other words, where's the historical record? In what document, line, word, or vestige of history? By what alone can we know anything of what has going on in the world before we came into it? Y'all understand what he's saying? He's saying that the only thing we know is what we have seen with our own eyes, that we were old enough or mature enough to be conscious of. Okay? In other words, when you were a 6-month-old baby, the vast majority of us, our eyes were open, but we don't remember anything, right? So how do you know if it's true or not? How do you know if what you've been told before you became conscious enough to have a memory that is true? This is what the author is telling us. Let's continue. By which alone we can know anything of what has been going on in the world before we came into it. Have we a vestige of the existence of a Hebrew nation? That's a legitimate question, y'all, right? That question can be answered only in the most decisive, the most unequivocal negation. That question can be answered only in the most decisive and most unequivocal negation that ever truth threw up in solution of any inquiry, whatever. So the author is saying that he is answering the question, no, you cannot prove it. Okay, that's what he means by unequivocal negation. He's saying that it cannot be proved. There's no history. Let's continue reading. Nowhere in all the world, nowhere, in no era of time, in no state or stone or skin or papyrus or paper, and nothing that ever was plastered by the trowel, scratched by the style, graven by the chisel, or written by the pen of the human hand, hath the world ever possessed a scratch of a scrabblement that recognized the existence of a Hebrew nation. Now, scholars keep in mind that the author gave this sermon in 1831. In 1831. Since 1831, there has been a lot of archaeological findings or alleged archaeological findings of Hebrew stuff, right? Artifacts with all types of Hebrew stuff on it, okay? But whether you accept that or believe it, that's up to you. That's up to you, whether you accept it or believe it. You have to make your own decision, right? You have to make your own decision. Okay, so let's continue. The author continues, quote, a holy nation, a peculiar people, a royal priesthood. Their only scriptural definition is a definition that expressly bars off and excludes any sense or understanding of their ever having existed as a political body or ordinary people in the national sense, okay? All right, everybody understand that? Do you agree or do you disagree with the author? I want to see his basis for saying this. That's what I'm waiting for, because right now he's making assertions, right? He's making claims, but I haven't seen any evidence yet. But I'm sure he's got something. Let's continue. But this epistle to the Hebrews, anonymous as it is, yet of high antiquity, as in all soberness and truth it must be admitted to be, is proof that there were persons or a community of persons called the Hebrews. Yes, and so are there, and so has there been since the building of Solomon's temple. Persons and communities of persons called Freemasons. Called Freemasons. Y'all see that? Let me highlight it for y'all. called Freemasons. Look at the highlight. Not Dr. Yasapa saying it. It's right there on the page. Yes, and so there are, and so has there been since the building of Solomon's temple, persons and communities of persons called Freemasons, persons corresponding with each other by means of secret symbols and held together in a mystical corporation governed by the law and officers of their own, recognizing each other by certain winks of the eye, positions of the feet, lollings of the tongue within the cheek, grips of the hand, and indentations of the thumb upon the wrist, which, escaping the notice of persons not informed in the craft, easily discover those who are initiated to each other. Y'all understand that? The author has made us wise. These are not actually the symbols, but the author is giving us a general overview on how they throw signs and symbols, right? They throw signs and symbols. Let's read it again, okay? It says the persons corresponding with each other, in other words, the persons that communicate with each other by means of secret symbols is hidden right in your face and held together in a mystical corporation governed by laws and officers of their own, recognizing each other by certain winks. In other words, Freemasons seek to recognize or identify who's a Mason and who's not by doing what? By doing certain winks of the eye, placing their feet in certain positions, lulling of the tongue within the cheeks, moving, y'all understand that? Touch your tongue to your cheeks. They have certain patterns that they do, according to the author. Grips of the hand and indentations of the thumb on the wrist. That's when they shake your hand, they will do something with their thumb on your wrist, which, escaping the notice of persons not informed of the craft, easily discover those who are initiated to each other, right? So you can be someplace, 3 of y'all, 4 of y'all, 5 of y'all, okay, y'all together, doing whatever. Everybody shakes hands, does things. Guess what? Maybe 1, 2, 3, or everybody there is a Freemason. Only one who's not but you, right? Only one who's not but you. Okay, how does that make you feel? Okay, does that put you in any type of jeopardy? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on the character of those people, but they're going to stick together, right? So you're going to be out. You're the outsider. All right, let's continue. And thus, many a man is asked whether he is a Mason and what degree he has attained in the Masonic mysteries. By these thumb signs and pantomimic actions, which no eye nor ear of any third person can possibly perceive. Y'all got that? Y'all got that? That had to come from years and years of practice and observation to achieve that type of secrecy, right? The discipline and practice that it would take to learn all of this stuff must be profound. Let's continue. The first or the second summons being understood or unheeded, a third and a fourth of higher authority and of more imperative mystery communicated only to the higher graduates of the craft. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Okay, so the higher graduates of the craft enabled them to boast with truth. Next page. All right. Let's continue. He continues, it reads that whatever mistakes may occur in this way among their inferior orders, excuse me, the higher dignities, the whatever that Greek word is, the Greek word, and then there's another D, and then a Greek word, or in English, the holy brother the holy brethren, that's these higher ups, y'all. That's the higher ups. The holy brethren are the higher ups. That's these very highly degreed education people in Freemasonry. Or holy brethren can recognize each other with infallible accuracy, whatever countries that they may be born in, whatever language they may speak all over the world and through all eras of time. Do y'all understand that? You get how profound that is? Freemasons in every landmass, every country, sharing the same or knowing the same signs and symbols. Okay, different levels of knowledge or different degrees of knowledge, there are additional signs and symbols that they learn, and they can throw them wherever they go. They may not speak the same language, but they know the same signs, and so they get support. They get support, okay? They get support. Now remember, scholars, we're talking about the dark priesthood. We're talking about renegades, right? Renegades, people who want to harm you, put you in slavery. This is who we're talking about. Am I saying, or is the author saying all Freemasons are like this? I have no idea, right? We can only read. So let's continue. By these symbols of higher authority, then, the common claims of humanity and the ordinary obligations of charity in man to man, they can demand and receive assistance from one another in all their distresses and inconveniences. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Now, we Moors should be the same way, right? We Moors, we should be the same way. Okay, so let me take a break and look at some of the comments. Music writes, why it's the same words? Ready to go to sleep, business, same words. Name of the deity or name of another of the same deity. Where are you reading from? The name of this book is The Devil's Pulpit. There's a link to it in the description area of the video, so you can get a copy of the PDF. All right, so let's see what time is it. It's almost time to wrap up, y'all, because I have to catch a flight. All right, so let's stop right there. But this is a good example for us because we Moors should stick together no matter what landmass we're on, no matter what country we're in. We observe that we are indigenous national people, that we are living according to, or in other words, we are following the Most High's commandments. We should help each other regardless of a situation, right? We should help each other. Okay, so with that said, we are an hour and 30 minutes into it. That time went real fast, y'all. So I'm going to stop right here. We'll pick up. I don't know if we'll pick up tomorrow, y'all. I don't know. But definitely we'll pick it up on April 23rd. That might be the 21st over here. It might, no, April 22nd. It might be maybe April 21. Okay, April 21. If I'm not back tomorrow, I'll be back on the 21st. All right. So I want to say thanks everyone for spending your evening with me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Okay, I really, really do. Let me remind you, I'm going to show you the link, music. I'm going to show you the link so that you can get a copy of this book. So y'all make sure if you learned and you enjoyed what you read, what we went through, if you found it valuable, please do support by buying our books, subscribing to our streaming live online 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. Come to the free class. You get 2 classes for free, Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, let me show you where you can download the book. Give me 1 second. All right, so let's go down, download the book. Okay, so here's here's the link for the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, y'all, right? The streaming course, it's almost free. Here's the 506 The Curses course, 10 a.m. every Saturday. You get to come for free twice. There's the link. All right, so here's our recommended book list. If you want to support, there's links, right? Now, here is the free download of the Devil's Pulpit. It's highlighted here. Click on this link and you can download the Devil's Pulpit. I would hope that you print it. All right. So now let's go back up. So for those of you who want to support, this is the only book that you should buy on Amazon. All right. This is 911 Ibaryath Rescue, the international edition. Okay. Let me show it. You can order this one on, see y'all, they increased the price again. Now the book is back up to $39. Lately, I noticed they've been reducing the price. But this is the one, but they raised it back. So now it's back, right? It's back to normal price. I didn't do it, but you know, that's Amazon doing it. But anyway, my point is, if you want to support us, you can buy 911 Ibaryath Rescue, the international edition, on Amazon.com. All of our other books, remember to buy them on ZionLawSchool.org. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School, y'all. I got to prepare. I'm traveling. I have to go. We put an hour and a half of work in today. I will see y'all, if not tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then the following day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you like what we did, if you learned, you enjoyed, if you stayed more than 5 minutes, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and like and share the video. And if you have the money, support us either by buying our products, our books, subscribing or enrolling in 101 Ancient Ibaryath, 506 The Curses course, or you can give a one-time donation right here, or you can do a recurring donation, whatever you want to do. All right, y'all, I got to run. Y'all have a very good evening, and thanks for spending time with us. I will see you all tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If not, then the following day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School, Shalawama, House of Yah.